everyone! In this video I did sort of an AliExpress haul of things I know people are buying quite often or thinking about buying. And well, this video might save you some money. And I'm doing a giveaway in the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. And it appeared that I want to elaborate a bit more about certain objects here on the table. And mainly that's this $29 violin set, which out of the box sounded like this. I hear everything! Wobbly bow! And together with violin maker Rob, we tried to improve it in all kinds of ways and fix what was wrong about it. And it ended up sounding like this. So make sure to watch this video right here, in which Rob and I demonstrate everything about what we change about the violin and really point out what's wrong about it and what we could fix and what we couldn't fix. So that's really interesting to watch. It was a very popular video. And then I have reviewed bow hold buddies. And that was very interesting. I decided to buy all kinds of alternatives to the bow hold buddies. And you can find my opinion on it, which was first quite conservative in the sense that don't use any of it. But I really changed my perspective on it. And that might be interesting for you if you feel that your bow hold is really getting in the way of your violin progress, and you think these kind of little helps can help you overcome that and just get your bow hold right so you can move on to other things. So watch this video about if they really help and also which ones really help, because that was actually the most important thing about it. Then I bought some other stuff that I know are popular, so let's go through it. Now, what we have here to review is a toy violin for musical stimulation for kids. So it should be playable. It arrived like this and back, by the way. We have a bow corrector that makes you bow straight. Then we have a finger trainer stretcher, probably to become the new Paganini or something. We have a finger strengthener, we have a ball to strengthen your fingers. Well, these I reviewed earlier. Oh, and we have an item that I absolutely hate. These things should be like forbidden by law or something. I'll explain about it later. And that is a sticker for the fingerboard, so you know where the notes are. Well, that's what they promise. I ordered this all 4 months ago, and it also included a tuner, but that never arrived, actually. Just like another toy violin and another finger exerciser. So you have to know that if you order something at AliExpress, then yeah, don't hold your breath until it arrives. And certainly don't tell your kids that you've bought them a toy violin, because they rather not want to wait 4 months for it to not arrive. But on the other hand, I have to say that the sellers are very responsive to messages and that they offer to send it again or to give you a refund. So in my experience that was okay, but yeah, if you need something quick, then don't order it there. Now let's start with this. I know violin playing is very difficult and it takes a ton of time to learn. So people are actually looking for shortcuts to maybe train their fingers and get faster progress. Alright, so I have here a ball that you can, train your hand. Advantage of this, I think it's pretty useful as long as you don't deduct it from your practice time. I mean, real practice is always better. It kind of massages your hand as you're squeezing it, and you can also do exercises with this ball for your finger action, for smooth bowing, and for things with your wrist. So this can come in handy if you really do targeted exercises with it, and if that comes in addition to the violin practice that you're doing and not instead of. Then we have the finger stretcher, and I should use it perhaps for my left hand to reach tenths or something. The weird thing is I have hypermobility, so, you know, I can put my fingers in any direction and I don't even feel it. So I don't feel a stretch with this thing, no matter which way I put it, a little bit like this. The thing is, these things are pretty dangerous. You can get injured if you don't know what you're doing. And you know, if you want to reach tenths, then just practice tenths. If you want to play octaves, then play octaves. So it doesn't really make sense to train your fingers with this. And there were even pictures of people playing an instrument with this on, and yeah, that really makes absolutely no sense. Then a thing, and I know they come in very different brands, but it's all kind of the same thing, and that is this finger strengthener. I had quite some students that were asking about it. It's actually quite heavy to do it with individual fingers. You can do it with your whole hand and it's not so heavy. The thing is, and again, mainly people use it for the left hand, of course, for the left hand fingers. And they say that this is really made for musicians. The thing I want to mention here is that I think maybe for the guitar, and I don't know if there are guitarists here, I don't want to pretend that I have any knowledge of learning guitar, but I know that in guitar playing with the kind of the chords and the stretches, the finger strength is more important than on the violin, and then sometimes it can make sense to strengthen your fingers. On the violin, the fine motor skills of your left hand are way more important than the strength. You don't need much strength. Probably when you have the idea that you need more strength, it's that you're doing something in a wrong way. That you're doing way too much effort, while violin playing is something very light. I mean, there are people playing on really big violins, like a cello or a double bass. And you know, how do they do it if like the normal violin is already requiring a lot of strength? So you don't need much strength if you want to train your left hand fingers and tackle those motor skills and strength at the same time. Then there are way more effective exercises than you can do with this thingy. But of course I won't cover those exercises in this video. Just kidding. In the beginning, and this is kind of a popular Suzuki exercise, it's handy to tap your fingers. So just all your fingers on the string and then really try to slap them on the string. That's also what I have against this thingy. This doesn't feel like the action that you have on the violin fingerboard. Because the action on the violin fingerboard, and there are two schools, it's either very, very light, that you're hardly pressing the string, or it's like I do, that you're more slapping your fingers on the string like you are, you know, like you would slap a fly or something. With this, you are invited to, you'll get the tendency to really squeeze. And that squeezing is exactly what a lot of beginners do wrong and what causes their hand to get cramped and very painful. So it might even teach you a wrong thing. So the tapping is very valuable, either with you know, just fingers from the air, or with your fingers already on the string, and do that on all strings. Also do it with your bow wall. Just tap the fingers one by one, and then you will learn more about the contact points. Another thing that's great for your finger strength is left hand pizzicato. And I'll link to a playlist here with some awesome exercises on left hand pizzicato by my colleague Vivian, who also teaches in my program Bow Like a Pro, by the way. Another thing that's awesome for your finger strength are trills. Then finger independence exercises by Dunis that I explain right here in this video. Really useful for your finger independence and strength and flexibility. So all that together, also your coordination and intonation, so you'll catch way more than with such a device. And then etudes, of course. You can play various etudes, just choose etudes on your level. And especially for the dexterity in your fingers and the speed in your fingers, the security. Handsiet are etudes that are, you know, in the beginning already relatively good to do. I'll link to the books right below. And Schradik, of course, they might be a bit boring, but those are great things to practice. But also, you know, the regular Wolfhard Mazas have so many etudes that are awesome to practice this. So do that instead of device. Now here we have another popular thing, and that's the bow corrector for straight bowing. And let's see how that works. I didn't dare to put it on my own violin because I was afraid to hurt my precious violin. So I'm putting it on this $29 violin. And then see what happens. I picked the one, by the way, that I thought has least damage on the violin, because you have these clamps, so to say, and there's rubber on them, so they don't really damage the instrument. It's important that you put it in the place of the right contact point, which in the beginning is right between the bridge and the fingerboard. We're like here, and then let's see if I can bow straight with this. Well, sure it works. Well, you hear the thing, you hear your bow, and that's if you have a bow that, that you don't want to be broken. You know, no matter the way you do it, the bow kind of touches these things, and they don't feel smooth, by the way. Maybe you can put them like further apart or something. And you know, the thing about this is I have recommended a thing like this to one particular student, and he was a beginner in his 60s, and no matter what we did, and he really put in a lot of practice time, but he just couldn't bow straight. And then I don't mean that it was a little off, it really was a lot off, and it was getting really frustrating because, yeah, he couldn't really continue with anything. And then I just said, you know what, just get a thing, and then you at least get a feeling, you know, what does it feel like to bow straight. But in general, this thing doesn't teach you the movements in your wrist and fingers. And the thing is about beginners that they don't see that this movement is a circle. You know, if I put a pencil here and I would keep my wrist and fingers in the same position, I would just move my lower arm, then I get a circle. It's even worse if I involve my upper arm. Now, so in violin playing, we make all these smooth movements to smoothen the bow changes, so to say. That's something that you need to learn, and that takes a lot of time, really. It looks so easy, but it just takes a lot of time to do that naturally. And you don't learn those things from this thing, it just forces the bow to go in a certain direction. So what I recommend is just practicing that finger action, and you can use the bow hand warm-up video I've got right here. For that has some exercises, and then just bow straight in the mirror, because you need to have that feeling and you need to have that action in your wrist and fingers. So sorry for elaborating on this, but if you are completely desperate and you did every exercise there was for months daily, and you're still, you know, it's holding you back from everything like that to one student, then you might be able to get it, but I don't guarantee that it solves your problem, because most of the time, certainly for beginners, the problem lies in the finger action. So that was my rant about this. And then I also ordered a little tuner that you can place on your violin for a couple of dollars. But after 4 months it didn't arrive. So, well, what I recommend, I have tried those tuners out a couple of times because they came with some cheap violin sets that I have reviewed. What I notice about them is that I don't always pick up the sound. So for tuning, it's kind of okay, because, you know, if it doesn't pick it up the first time, then, you know, you just play the note a second time. It might be frustrating and taking you a little bit longer, but it's still, you know, it still can work. The Dario Micro Tuner is the only tuner that I found that you can put on your violin, and it corrects you while playing. So it recognizes the note you play, and then it says if it's too high and too low. Of course, you should develop your musical ear, etc, etc. The big disclaimer, but this can really help you out in your practice to have some reference. Don't use it all the time, and see my review of that. The tuners that you'll find for a couple of dollars typically are quite slow and less accurate. So sometimes they recognize a different note, for example, or they don't recognize anything. So you can use that for tuning, but then just keep in mind that it might take a little bit more time than with this one and that you can't use it while playing. Then we move to my most hated violin accessory, really. And this comes from the time that I worked in a violin shop for over 10 years. Of course, in my education as a violinist and a teacher, I already read about, you know, the audiation theory, that you don't play on motor skills, but that actually for the majority of it, you play by ear, so by constantly hearing what you're doing and adjusting to it. So it's way more important to train that. But what I saw, because in the violin shop you typically see a lot of students moving on to bigger sizes of rental instruments and then eventually getting to a 4/4 size instrument. And there were so many teens who had lessons for 5 years or even more. And they were using these stickers. Of course, it was a terrible job to remove stickers from rental instruments, so that's also a reason. But that's mostly in self-interest. But the thing was that as soon as they tried out another instrument, even if it was the same size, they really had no idea where their finger should go, and they also had no idea how it should sound. So they, first of all, the motor skill training probably didn't work with the stickers because their fingers were really everywhere without the stickers. So they only played the violin visually. So actually they didn't internalize the feeling their fingers had, the reference points, all that kind of stuff. So the motor skills weren't trained. Actually, they were only trained to see this sticker and to put their finger on it. And if the sticker was gone, then they didn't know where to go. And secondly, and that was the most alarming, is that they didn't hear that they were completely wrong. So they had no idea that they were wrong and they had no idea to correct it. And I think in Holland, you know, if you have private lessons, parents pay around sometimes €1,000, which is more than $1,000 a year, to get lessons for those children. And those children had lessons for 5 years or more. And they had no idea where to put their fingers. They had no musical ear developed in that time. And yeah, that really hurt me in a way, because these children were in this typical age of like 12, 13 years old, which is like the moment where a lot of children stop. And if you are still on a beginner level then it's really hard to persevere. So that was another rant. A lot of rants in this video. Shouldn't do AliExpress hauls anymore. Not planning to, by the way. Alright, now let's put the thing on. And because I see this exact same thing. Now, you have to put the F, of course, on the top. And then you place it. You can of course remove the strings, but then you have the risk that your bridge will get loose, the sound post will get loose. So I'll try to put it on without. It doesn't work. Now, so apparently it doesn't work without removing the string. So let's do that then. This is not something that you like to do as a beginner, by the way. I'm going to try to put it on as accurately as possible. I want to give this thing a fair chance, of course, because I don't want to just be ranting to you. I could imagine that a beginner won't be really comfortable doing this, by the way. Thing is, the distances on each violin are slightly different. So, you know, even if it would be correct, then it wouldn't be correct for every violin, because they're all slightly different. You notice that when you play on another instrument and then the notes are suddenly in different places and you really have to get used to it. Now, I just went through the horror of tuning this thing again. This is really my last video I do on cheap violins and AliExpress stuff or whatever, by the way. I'm only reviewing really good stuff from now. Alright, let's see how accurate they are. Okay, now we see that my finger is slightly above an E to play an in tune E. And this is how in tune it would be if I would put my fingers like straight on the spot. Oh, that was another disadvantage of those stickers. People can play like this. Well, you know, you are approximately right, of course. But if you put your fingers on there, they are quite out of tune actually. Because, you know, you never get to place this thing right. It doesn't fit your individual instrument. So, yeah, it's, you know, just don't buy it, okay? Just don't. Please don't. Now, before I announce the giveaway of all this Shostakovich, then I have the last item, and that is musical stimulation, because I thought, hey, maybe I can already, you know, give my kids a violin toy. I ordered 2 of them, this one and also this one, but you know, it's been 4 months and it didn't arrive, so well. My kids weren't aware of it, so they are not disappointed. No small children are hurt making this video. Alright, oh, that's handy. The bow is taped to the violin. Great tip, if you don't want to lose your bow, just tape it to your violin. You hear in the background, my kid just started spontaneously crying because of this. Now, let's see what it does. Choking hazard number 1, choking hazard number 2, choking hazard number 3, and then 4 strings that can snap into your kid's face. Nice toy. Then I think if kids are, you know, old enough to see that they don't have to put these things in their mouth and that they have to tune it carefully, they are also at the age that they can play a real violin. It's all plastic, by the way. Just want to show you this. Plastic, 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 fantastic. And then you see where the fingerboard is, you see all these little things where it's attached to it. Very funny. Then the bow, it's I think a remake of a Baroque bow. The hairs are like very thin. So I'm trying to rosin this bow with its couple of hairs that aren't even straight, to see if it can make a sound. Next comes tuning this fiddle, which is of course hard when everything is plastic and not sticking. Well, the strings are so weak that you hardly can tune it. It's actually impossible. It's not even really strings. But yeah, as I promised to test it, here it goes. Well, not really possible to get sound of. So what's the use of this? Because for children that are, you know, too small to be concentrated and to know that they, you know, shouldn't let a string slap into their face or, you know, choke in all these different parts, then you can definitely get better something that is a real toy, really just a toy. And musical stimulation, that goes more by like singing together, listening to music together, maybe drumming some rhythms, clapping some rhythms, walking in a beat, all those kinds of things. And then when children are ready to pick up an instrument, you know, you can start with little drums, little like shakers or whatever. There are so many cool things. You can get them a toy violin like this one perhaps that didn't came. But I know it can be really fun, but it doesn't teach your children to play violin, okay? So if your children are ready for it, then just get them a good children-sized violin, and you can rent them for not so much money, and then just put them in good formal lessons. That's kind of the two things that you can do. But this is sort of, you know, it's nothing of both worlds. You can't use it to actually learn to play, and you know, it's too dangerous to let really small children play with it. So really wouldn't recommend it. If you want to have like a fun toy for your children as a violin, then get that. But you know that that doesn't teach them to play violin. Now then, the giveaway of all this stuff. So to begin with, of course, the $29 violin that we have optimized, but that still, in my opinion, isn't really a good violin for a beginner. Watch that video, I'll link to it below. I recommend only taking part in this giveaway competition if you are starting to play the violin as an adult, and if you really don't have the budget to either rent instrument for a couple of dollars a month. Maybe there's nothing near you. I know that there are also violin shops that, you know, send out rental instruments, then you have a good instrument. But I really recommend spending like the $200, $500. But you know, if you are really limited in possibilities, by all means, I would rather give this to someone who can maybe use it for a few months to get to know the violin a little bit, and then upgrade to a better instrument, whether it's bought or rented. And you'll get in a whole package everything that I have reviewed in this video. So everything that is on the table. I think I'm keeping the toy violin anyway, because my husband seems to like it. So I'm not allowed to give it away, sorry. So what's holding me back a little bit in doing giveaways is that every time I do a giveaway, there are people who say it's not fair that this and it's not fair that that. Some people say I should do it with a random selection. Other people say it's more fair if you let people work for it or give a good reason or whatever. So this time I'm doing it again a little bit different, and again I know that there will be people that find it unfair, but that's just how I choose to do it right now. It's my stuff to give away, so I get to choose to whom I give it away, whether it's fair or not. So what you need to do is to comment below a genius video idea, because at the moment I am batch recording for my pregnancy leave. I'm making a ton of videos, and those are videos, you know, not only for this YouTube channel, but also for my free beginner course, also for my paid programs, and also for the video exchange that I'm currently offering to around 100 students. So I'm making a lot of videos. Sometimes the inspiration gets a little bit low, certainly as I've made already kind of 1500 videos or so in total. So I really appreciate if you give me some awesome video ideas for my YouTube channel, and then also tell me that you want a violin, because maybe you have a genius idea but you don't want a violin. So if you want to win this violin in this giveaway competition, then give me that video idea. Tell me that you're interested in winning this whole stuff, and also tell me where you're from, because this giveaway competition is worldwide. But you know, if it really cost me 50 euros to get it to you, then it's not going to work. So tell me where you're from, just so I can look it up and see what the shipping costs will be and if they will be fairly reasonable. And I will determine the winner of this giveaway with my own reasons that are highly secret. So I hope that you like this. Certainly let me know also if you have other products that you would like me to review, or other video ideas, because I'm really looking for them at the moment. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye!